Somewhere in a single lake in Mexico lives a creature that can lose its leg and simply grow it back. Not scarred, not shortened. A perfect, fully working leg. Cut its spinal cord and it heals. Damage its heart and it repairs itself. Remove part of its brain and, somehow, it grows that back too. This isn't science fiction, and it isn't some deep-sea creature no one has ever seen. This animal is sold in pet stores. It's been studied in labs for over 150 years, and it might be the most important creature in modern medicine that almost nobody has actually heard of. This is the axolotl. The axolotl is technically a salamander, but it breaks nearly every rule salamanders are supposed to follow. Most amphibians go through metamorphosis. They hatch in water, then grow legs, lose their gills, and eventually move onto land. The axolotl simply refuses to grow up. It stays in the water its entire life, keeping its feathery external gills, its tadpole-like tail, and its permanently open, almost surprised expression. Scientists call this neoteny, reaching full adulthood, even becoming capable of reproducing, while keeping the body of a juvenile. In the wild, axolotls exist in exactly one place on the entire planet, the canal system of Lake Xochimilco, on the southern outskirts of Mexico City. Not a country, not a region. One shrinking network of canals, originally built by the Aztecs themselves as farmland waterways called chinampas. They typically grow to about a foot long and come in a surprising range of colors: pale pink, golden, black, mottled brown, even a striking white form with pink gills called leucistic. For the Aztecs who once lived alongside them, the axolotl wasn't just another animal in the canal. It was considered a living god. Xolotl, the Aztec deity of fire, lightning, and death, was believed to have transformed himself into a salamander, specifically to avoid being sacrificed by the other gods. The name axolotl comes directly from Nahuatl, roughly translating to water dog or water monster. Today, axolotls are one of the most recognizable amphibians on the internet. That smiling face has become a genuine pop culture icon, showing up in video games, plush toys, and emoji keyboards. But underneath the cute exterior is something far stranger than most of its internet fans realize. Because the real reason this animal matters isn't its appearance, and it isn't mythology either. It's something almost every complex animal on Earth lost millions of years ago, somewhere along the evolutionary path that led to reptiles, birds, and eventually us: the ability to fully regenerate lost body parts. Cut off a lizard's tail and it grows back, but only the tail, and only once, and never quite the same. The new one is usually shorter, made of cartilage instead of proper bone. Cut off a human finger and it does not come back at all. Cut off an axolotl's leg, at any joint, at any angle, and within a few weeks, a completely new one forms. Same bones, same muscles, same nerves, correctly reconnected. Even the specific pattern of blood vessels rebuilds itself accurately, and limbs are only the beginning. Axolotls can regenerate their tails, their jaws, portions of their eyes, sections of their lungs, and, this is the part that genuinely stuns researchers, parts of their spinal cord and brain. In most animals, including humans, spinal cord injuries are permanent because the body responds with scar tissue that physically blocks nerve regrowth. In the axolotl, cells right at the injury site appear to remember what they used to be, reorganize themselves, and rebuild the damaged tissue almost completely, restoring movement that should have been lost forever. Here's what makes this so scientifically strange. When a human heals a wound, the body mostly relies on fibrosis, fast, protective scarring that seals the injury but can never fully rebuild specialized tissue like nerve or heart muscle. The axolotl does something fundamentally different. Cells near the wound partially reverse into a more flexible, almost stem cell-like state, in a process researchers call de-differentiation. Those cells multiply rapidly, forming a small mass called a blastema, and then re-specialize into exactly the tissue that's missing. Muscle becomes muscle again, bone becomes bone again, skin becomes skin again. It's less like healing and more like construction starting over from the original blueprint. This process was first documented scientifically all the way back in the 1700s, when Italian biologist Lazzaro Spallanzani experimented with regenerating salamander limbs, making the axolotl one of the longest continuously studied animals in the history of biology, and the interest has only grown since. Laboratories around the world, from Germany's IMP Research Institute to universities across the United States, now maintain colonies of thousands of axolotls, specifically to study this process, hoping to eventually unlock similar regeneration in human tissue. There's an even stranger piece of this puzzle: cancer. Uncontrolled cell division is essentially how tumors form, which means an animal that regenerates entire organs by rapidly multiplying cells should, in theory, be extremely prone to cancer. Axolotls are the opposite. Research has repeatedly found remarkably low cancer rates in the species. Somehow, their bodies know exactly when to stop building. Scientists still don't fully understand the mechanism, and figuring it out could matter for far more than just amphibians. One genuinely wild statistic ties all of this together. The axolotl genome is roughly 10 times larger than the human genome. Not because the animal itself is more complex. Nobody is entirely sure why it's so large, but somewhere inside that enormous strand of DNA may be instructions that human medicine is now trying to decode gene by gene, in the hope of eventually applying pieces of it to spinal cord injuries, heart damage, and severe burns in people. Here's the part of this story that changes everything. The axolotl, an animal capable of near miraculous self-repair, cannot save itself from disappearing. In the wild, axolotls are classified as critically endangered. Population surveys conducted in Lake Xochimilco over the past 2 decades have shown a dramatic decline, and in some recent survey years, researchers using standard sampling methods struggled to detect any wild individuals at all. The threats aren't exotic or mysterious. They're the same pressures facing waterways almost everywhere: water pollution and invasive fish species like tilapia and carp that were introduced into the canals and now prey heavily on axolotl eggs and young. Add to that the steady urban expansion of one of the largest cities on Earth, pressing directly against the remaining canals, and the outlook becomes genuinely fragile. Meanwhile, in laboratories, universities, and home aquariums around the world, axolotls are thriving by the tens of thousands, bred in captivity for research and increasingly popular as exotic pets. It's an almost unbelievable irony. A species that could vanish completely from the one place it naturally exists, while remaining abundant everywhere else on the planet, just not in the wild, and not in the ecosystem that shaped it for millions of years. Conservationists in Mexico have started building small artificial refuges within the canal system, called refugios, using natural filtration to improve water quality in contained areas. Local farmers have also revived traditional Chinampa agriculture, which historically helped keep the canal water clean. But the outcome is still far from certain. The animal that might help unlock regeneration for the human spine, the human heart, maybe even human limbs, could disappear from nature within our lifetime, saved from extinction only by the very science it inspired. So the next time you see one of these strange, permanently smiling salamanders in a photo, a video game, or a fish tank, remember what it actually represents. Not just an odd-looking pet, a living blueprint that medicine hasn't finished reading yet. And maybe the real question isn't just whether we can save the axolotl, it's whether, in trying to understand how it heals itself, we end up learning how to heal ourselves too. If you want more stories about the strangest, most scientifically important creatures on Earth, creatures most people have never even heard of, subscribe, because this is only the beginning.